Good morning, Denise Dryden. I'm so glad you're here and you're watching this weekly video because I think we're going on 5 years now of, I am going on 5 years of bringing this information to you and then storing them on both YouTube and Facebook. And I'm glad you're here. So today I want to talk about ungrouping the strings. Okay. And this came up this week because, first of all, it's Halloween, right? I'm going to put something on my screen. First of all, it's Halloween, and, I always think of spider webs and grouping, and there were some, interesting things that came up this week that sort of made me laugh, right? So I noticed that there's, within my clients, within myself, within my friends, is that, we're noticing that we're in Scorpio season. We've got this stuck perspective or this reoccurring reaction that's present, but not really clear. I don't know what to do with this. It keeps showing up sort of tap, tap, tap. It's time to go work on this. It's time to go explore this, right? And what I'm noticing is that it's a larger pattern, and it seems to be attached to a lot of different things, right? So I'm on Canva yesterday, posting the announcement for this topic, and I noticed that it's much easier if I just lock, the Denise Dryden, whatever in there. But when I lock it together, first of all, it's firm, it's dependable. I know I can work with it and just move it around. But the other part is that I can't really change the text. So when I unlock it, it sort of frees everything, and I'm like, oh, this is about grouping. This is a good way to look at it. But you have to unlock it so that you can move things around, right? So what happened on top of this is I have a client who called with this, something happened a few years ago, and then now the reoccurring, another event happened, a person, a thing, a story came up that sort of triggered the circle back into it, right? And so what I noticed is that there's a lock somewhere in the story, right? That it doesn't matter how much time this new piece of information can trigger us right back into the old thing, right? So whether it's a struggle or whatever's going on, what happens is we focus on the immediate issue and we're like, ouch, why is this here? What's going on? And this shows up a lot in our family systems, in our relationships, is that there's something that happened a long time ago or something that's not being addressed. It just comes up and goes tap, 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 right? So especially if you are highly sensitive, you're empathic, or you have high levels of anxiety because you can't figure something out. Your brain gets activated into what did I miss? What's going on? How do I figure this out? And so what I look at is that perseveration of details, is what happens when these strings are pulled and they're pulled and they're pulled and they're pulled all the time, and our mind can't figure it out. Does this make sense? So some of us spend a lot of time spinning our wheels in this anxiety, and others go into denial, which is like, I'm just going to self-medicate, I'm going to party, I'm going to, watch sports, I'm going to shop, I'm going to do, coffee after coffee with friends until I have no ability to think about this, right? And what I want to say is that this locked pattern isn't obvious, obviously. And we're in Scorpio season, which is you have to go down to the very bottom, to the very deepest place. And so we have 28 days that's going like, hey, you want to know the real story on that? That little, what do we want to call it? Grouping? That little thread that you keep tugging on? It's not going to be easy until we we use some tips. So I have some tips at the end of this video on how to lay this out and work with it, right? But we can't find our way to release it or a pathway out until we know what it is, and it's not what we think it is, right? So if you're a parent and you're listening to this, think of something that you've been worried about with your kid. If you're in a relationship, think of something you've been worried about, or that you're noticing that is this constant little ting, ting, ting in your relationship. And it's been there for a while, and it's requiring some attention from you. So when you go to this current time, this event that's reacting it, there's something at play. So what we want to do is we want to go look at that. Okay. So I brought in, well, first and foremost, I do a lot of web work. I seem to be very related to the spider energy, which is like, not my favorite, not my favorite insect at all. However, as a triple water sign and, a lot of mutable, a lot of super vibrational skill sets, it's almost as if something starts to hum, and I can feel it. I can feel it in the energy. I can feel it in the earth around me, and I'm like, ooh, something's going on. Something's triggered, because the web is interconnected to everything, and it's vibrational, and it's massive beyond our awareness, because sometimes this web can show us what's present, but it can also sort of come up at us from the past, from our stories, from our imprints, from our conditioning, from our previous lives. They're all connected through time and space. So this web is super, what's the word? It's massive, and it's energetic. And when it comes up, it starts to tap, hey, I need you to deal with this, right? So the key information I want you to sort of take away from today is that these groupings, these connections are big and significant to us, and they're often unconscious. So there's connections, there's groupings that we didn't know were there, and they're locked, and they keep affecting us, right? Yet these series of events and coincidences will bring your attention to them when it's time. So what you'll notice is that there's these constant taps, like everybody keeps talking about this, or I see this person all the time, or this repetitive behavior shows up again and again and again. So what I look at it as is it's a simple request to release the locked data and let it flow. And so I look at it from a plumber's perspective, from an electrician, from, some sort of very material thing, which is you got a clog, you got a problem, you got to go figure out where it is and loosen it up and let it flow. And so as an integrational coach, that's much of the work that I do, is we watch the vibration going on, right? But we're also looking for where are the common pieces. So I would imagine that each of you has something that's coming to mind right now. So what I want to do is I want to go through these 7 tips, and I want you to pull that up and sort of think about it, and let me know some comments when you're finished at the end if there's anything that comes up for you. I'd love to hear about that. Okay, so number 1, acknowledge that there's data or information in front of you. Period. Acknowledge it. Oh, yeah, see it, own it, feel it. It's right smack in front of you. So an example I would use is that today's October 31st, and on October 30th in 2017, I drove and started a 6-month sabbatical in Bainbridge Island. I rented a room in a house, and on October 31st, I moved in. And for whatever reason, as the calendar has been getting closer to the 29th, the 30th yesterday, and the 31st today, it seems like I'm just in, unpacking my car. What did Bainbridge feel like? And I'm thinking, that was 4 years ago. How is it that I'm living 4 years ago? This is very interesting. So I collect the data. I wonder what's going on. Number 2 is ask some questions, like, why are you here right now? What do you want me to know? How do you want to put these connections together? Because, if I'm constantly back in that time of 2017, I'm wondering what the message is, right? Why are you here? So I want to ask questions, and then I want to listen for the answers, right? And when those answers come up, it's important to, number 3, journal them, write them down. I use a series of index cards, or I'll cut up little pieces of paper and put them all and then spread them out on the table. It's interesting that when I moved into this rental house in Bainbridge, there was this 25-foot blank white wall in this sort of downstairs front room, and nobody used it but me. And I said, can I use that? And they were like, yeah. So I got some of those blue sticky gum things that teachers use in the classrooms or whatever you use so it doesn't take the paint off. And I would take these words and I'd put them up, and I had all 25 feet of these different groupings of theories and thoughts that I was working on in the coaching that I was doing with a therapeutic high school and their parents, right? So when the story comes up, what you want to do is you want to grab it with pieces of paper or concepts. And I suggest that you get off the computer, because making a computer list isn't the same, because what we want to do is we got to ungroup them. So we actually have to sort of scatter them and then collect them into pieces that you can play with. So number 4 is to lay them out and play with them. Group them by timelines, group them by events, group them by people, group them by concepts, and then regroup them. So when I did this, I was moving them around all the time. And then this tool that I've used, and I will put a link in the description box of a previous video that I did years ago on a bubble map. I call it a bubble map because it works for me. This is a bubble map. I don't know if you can see it. It's just a handwritten system, right? I put the topic in the middle, and then I collect data and I put it around, and it's random data, whatever comes up, right? So with this bubble map, after I get all of these data sheets down here, right, then I start with, well, what's going on right now? Oh yeah, right here. And then I go, and then where do I go next? I go here, I go here, I go here. And so I chart out the path, because the path is different with every reaction, with everything I do. So a bubble map helps me realize that there's something bigger going on. And I use this with my clients. I use this in my personal life. I use this in my coaching with parents, which is what's going on that you're catching, and what's the system? What's the repetitive system? Okay, number 6. So 5 was the bubble map. 6 is let the aha happen. Play with it until you're like, oh, like I just did on the camera, which is, like all of a sudden 2017 is playing a really significant role. And it didn't in 18, 19, 20. It's interesting. Now it's up. Why is it up? So wait for the aha to come in and go, oh. So right now I'm still working on that. I can keep you posted on that. But that 2017 is like tap, tap, tap. So that aha tells me that it's got a lot to do with the island. It's got a lot to do with Halloween, because somehow Halloween feels really different this year. We'll find out. So there are certain things, or a couple of things, that are going to come up and you go, oh. Okay, and number 7, once you know it, you can normalize it. Like, oh, every single time I'm in front of this person, I am reminded of something that happened in 5th grade or 6th grade with some mean girls that I used to live in my neighborhood. Oh, got it. So I still have some of those mean girl things in me. Okay, I get it now. Now I know what to do, because I've targeted it. I've focused on it. I can pick it up and unlock it and let it go. So the beauty of having this concept that things group and they lock, and that until we unlock them, they are going to stay solid and they're going to keep talking to us, is a phenomenal way of looking at how to normalize our emotional reactions, our traumatic responses, our triggered events that keep coming up. And when we get to that, capturing them and spreading them out and getting to that aha, it's always so beautiful, because it's almost like instantly everything just releases out of that clenched place. So if this is something you're interested in or you would like more information on, you can always call me. Drop me a note, message me at DeniseDryden.com. And I'm on Facebook, LinkedIn, I'm on all of it, right? So just find a place and drop me a note and let me know what you would like. Have a great last day of October, and we're heading into November next, and we're still in Scorpio season till the 22nd. So have fun with that. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.